Hello, I'm Lynsey Storer. I'm here today in Alston, Cumbria, to talk with my good friend, the artist Helen Johnson. She's presently the artist in residence at Rydal Mount, the previous home of Wordsworth. I'm here in Helen's studio, admiring the works which she's creating presently, the views of Rydal Mount, and further here, the works of Alston Moor. Hello Helen, very nice to see you.
Hello and welcome to my studio.
So could you please tell me how your residency came about at Rydal Mount?
So I used to work in West Cumbria, and so I would drive through the whole of the Lake District every day of the year, there and back, so morning and evening, and I would see it in all its majesty and thought that I couldn't believe how lucky I was. People coming from all over the world to see the Lake District, and I've seen it through all the seasons every year for 5 years. So I thought I really wanted to do something art-wise within the Lake District. So I approached Rydal Mount and Emily Heath, the curator there, and we agreed between us for me to do the residency.
Brilliant. Would you like to tell me about your work?
Yeah, so if I use this one as an example, so this is an actual painting of Rydal Mount taken from the garden, and you probably can't see it on film, but there is a certain amount, it's oil paint on canvas, but on top of that is plastic that I have soldered onto the painting, so that it has kind of similar qualities to a paint, a kind of thick painterly brush stroke. And in this particular piece I've also got gold leaf running across the top, because one of Wordsworth's poems, An Evening Walk, he describes the mountains as being tipped with gold, and I liked the kind of analogy. I also like the fact that there's a kind of contrast between plastic. The plastic that I use is non-recyclable single-use plastic, and so it was destined for the rubbish tip basically, and and I'll talk about that in a minute about that landfill. But I like that kind of juxtaposition between the gold and something of such kind of value sat against plastic of such low value. But the fact that we're still putting it into the environment is also really interesting to me, which is why I use plastic in my work.
Obviously a lot of meaning and thought embedded in there. So could you tell me a little bit about your link with Wordsworth and the themes that you've decided to look at throughout your work?
Yeah, so I sat down with Emily, the curator, and we came up with 5 themes that are linked to the themes that are seen time and again in Wordsworth's poetry. And we decided that we would spread those 5 themes across the year. I mean, there are more than 5 themes, but we decided on 5, those being spirituality, emotions and feelings, nature and the environment, family and excursions. And then divided those up within the year into any order that I thought was relevant, and followed those on a kind of timetable, if you like. The first one was spirituality, which went from September to Christmas, because my residency is for a whole year. It started in September. Right. So I was particularly interested in doing spirituality as that first one, because one, it ran up to Christmas, so obviously Christianity. Wordsworth was a Christian in his later life, and actually worked as a warden in the church just round the corner from Rydal Mount. But also because of the other sort of festivals and rituals that happen from September to Christmas. So you've got Halloween and kind of bonfire night and all those celebrations, which I thought tied in really nicely with celebrations of nature. So thinking of autumn colours and leaves and those sorts of things were kind of sticking in my head. So the images that I created from up until Christmas were thinking of how nature represents the spiritual, and how hopefully my art then does the same through the colours and the kind of atmosphere that I've created within the work.
Your ideas sound amazing. Looking at the work, I see that there's a real texture involved in it. Could you tell me a little bit about the materials you use?
Yeah, so again, that's down to the plastic that I use. So I'm really interested in the environment and the fact that we're inadvertently destroying the planet. And obviously there's been an awful lot of talk on it in the last sort of 2 or 3 years, but human nature means that we forget, and you know, the coronavirus and everything else has meant that we've had something else to focus on, and so the whole kind of plastic conversation has fallen to the bottom of the pile, in so much as we're buying sanitizer in plastic bottles by the thousand. All the supermarkets across the land have stopped their 5p or 10p waiver on the plastic bags. All the online shopping comes in plastic bags, so we've kind of forgotten all about it. So in a way, my work continues to remind people that we are still pumping plastic into our environment. And hopefully, because I've chosen such a beautiful part of the world, and because my paintings, again, hopefully, are quite pleasant to look at, I'm not trying to kind of ram it into people's faces. What I'm trying to say is our planet is a beautiful, beautiful place. And but actually, if you start to look a little bit closer, and you look a little bit closer at my artwork, you'll see that there is plastic in it. And actually, even the plastic looks quite pretty, because it's taken from, plastic is designed, it's man-made, it's made to be attractive. It comes in bright colours, it makes you want to have a nice kind of carrier bag or whatever. It's purposely made that way. So putting it into the environment, hopefully subtly, makes people kind of ask the question, what is it doing there? And indeed, what is it doing there? It shouldn't be there, should it?
I can hear that you've clearly got a lot of passion about environmental issues, and I know that the area is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and I know that you're particularly into promoting the area, and you're a member of a group of artists. Could you tell me about those, please?
Yeah, so that's kind of sort of two things really. So I think you're talking about Alati, where I'm a member of, which is actually the Alston Moor Landscape. No, it's Alston Landscape Art Town Initiative is what it stands for, Alati. So that is in an area of outstanding natural beauty in the North Pennines, which is slightly separate to the Lake District. So the UNESCO is the Lake District, and so if I talk about that first, because that's that also again links with Wordsworth, because he was actually an environmentalist in his time, and actually is quite well known in landscape gardening circles as well as poetry, because he was an avid believer in nature and in kind of looking after nature, not just abandoning it to its own self, but looking after it, but allowing it to be itself at the same time. So I was really interested in that side of things, and the way that his gardens in particular reflect that viewpoint. And that again hopefully shown in my work, although they are kind of garden paintings, they're not pretty flowers, and they are rhododendrons and big trees, and it's kind of almost nature consuming the man-made house in the middle. And there's another one I've done of actually the opposite view, so you sat here looking down the garden. And that's got its Rydal Mount Gardens with bench, and the bench is quite significant in that because it's very small, and it's got one of the lats missing off the back of the bench, where it's actually beginning to be consumed by nature, taken back in, and the actual garden is huge around it. It's like it's consuming the man-made, so I quite like that. But that's that. Okay, so and then you also asked me about Alati, the group that I'm involved with, the Alston Landscape Art Town Initiative, which is in North Pennines in Alston Town, which is where I live. And we are a group of people who have come together to celebrate and develop the landscape of Alston Moor and encourage people to come here, particularly with a view to paint or to photograph the area. And we are a group of mixed group, so there are 3 photographers, myself and another artist, and 2 journalists who set it up initially.
I noticed that you also publicised online a virtual gallery that you've been creating while you've been in lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually come about as a result of having an actual exhibition as part of a Lati at Nenthead, at the Hive, which is an arts and visitors centre at Nenthead. They've just recently done up their beautiful chapel there and made it into an arts and visitors centre. So we've actually got a live gallery there, but an exhibition there in their gallery. But that's obviously, it opened on the 4th of July, and being so close to coming out of lockdown, I was very keen to try to promote that and my artwork and kind of exhibition space in general, to try to encourage people to come out post-lockdown. That I decided I'd do the online exhibition as well, to try to get that out there and encourage people to come and look at artwork really in Alston Moor, which in this case is at Nenthead.
Well, it sounds like you've been very busy. I really do admire the work that you're making, and I look forward to seeing it in the exhibition that you'll have as soon as you finish your residency.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.